how many have ever heard of the movie Napoleon Dynamite? Okay. You have? All right. A lot of us. It's one where you either love it or you don't like it. What's that? Oh, there you go. The Happy Hands Club hat. There you go. Yes, vote for Pedro, all of that stuff. This is one of those movies where either you love it or you don't like it. And a lot of times, like my daughter, they say they don't like it, but they actually do because there's some funny scenes in it. And so my sister-in-law wouldn't watch it for the longest time because, in her words, she didn't want to get dumbed down by it. And so it's one of those movies where I think the lead actor actually only got paid, I think, $10,000 or $15,000 for it. But it turned out to be, and I don't mean this in like a dark way, but it turned out to be a cult classic, they call it. Yeah, do you understand what it means when something's a cult classic? That means it's not like a big movie in the theaters, but there's this massive following of people that watch it and love it and look at it over and over again. And as I was watching it the other night for the first time in a long time with my daughter and family, I was sitting there and I was thinking, boy, there's a lot of funny truths that can be pulled out of this. Even though the movie's like came out in 05 or 06, there is a lot of cool things in there that we're going to dive in on and talk about. And so this message this Sunday, I just entitled it, I Love Technology Always and Forever. The reason for the tater tots is because if you know anything about the movie, you know that tater tots play a big part of the movie. And it's so much so that Napoleon actually likes them. He grabs them off a kid's plate and lunch and puts them in his cargo pants and was going to munch on them during class. And one of his friends kicked him in the leg to smash him. So it's, again, it's that good. I don't know. It sounds intriguing, doesn't it? Think of Gone with the Wind, but different. Okay. And so... so there's this part though. Okay, the whole movie, the big word today with kids watching YouTube videos and things is a cringe, is a cringy, and it kind of is. First thing my daughter said about the movie is, "Why is everyone so depressed when they're watching in the movie?" And it's just like this monotone volume, which is part of the charm of the movie. But you're done with the movie, and again, people that love it want more. People that don't like it are happy it's over, but there's an end credits scene. All right. And see, there's three key players in this movie. There's Napoleon Dynamite. Okay. There is the brother Kip and there's Uncle Rico. Okay. Now there's other characters as well, but Kip is the one that ends up singing a song because he likes technology. And so I can't set the bar low enough for this scene, okay? He's singing to his wife that he's getting married to, the lady that he's getting married to, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But watch this because you'll see where we get this title from.
Why do you love me? Why do you need me? Always and forever. We met in a chat room. Now our love can fully bloom. Sure, the World Wide Web is great, but you make me salivate. Yes, I love technology, but not as much as you see. But I still love technology. Always and forever. Our love is like a flock of doves. Fly.
All right, so here he is singing to his wife, and there's an important part as I'm watching this movie saying, you got this guy Kip, okay, and his big thing is that he's online meeting people and all of that. And it got me thinking quite a bit about, the issue that we could pull out of this is the issue of integrity. All right. And integrity in our lives. Integrity is a characteristic that speaks of honesty. It speaks of righteousness. It speaks of consistency in our words and actions. And the Bible provides us with some powerful insights regarding the issue of integrity. What's another word? I'm just seeing if we might equate the two. What's another word that we equate with integrity? Character. Yep. Honesty. Yep. A lot of words can go with it. Holiness. Okay. A lot of these words that what's that? Morals. Yep. Absolutely. And so a powerful part of this movie is that we're watching this. There's early on in the movie, there's this scene. Okay. And it's basically grandma is going away for the weekend. She's going to go ATVing with her friends and ends up getting in an accident. And so Uncle Rico has to come. And we're going to talk about him in weeks to come. All right. And so there's this scene, and you get to see a little bit about who Kip is and what he's proud of. And so we're going to watch this clip, and then I'm going to get into the message.
Stay home and eat all the freaking chips, Kip.
Napoleon, don't be jealous that I've been chatting online with babes all day. Besides, we both know I'm training to become a cage fighter.
Since when, Kip? You have the worst reflexes of all time.
Try and hit me, Napoleon.
What?
I said come down here and see what happens if you try and hit me.
Such an idiot.
Let's see what your best move is.
I'll go get it.
Gotta love it. He's training to be a cage fighter. But let's back up a little bit here. Number one, when you see Kip in this movie, you're like, he is not training to be a cage fighter. It's just, there's no way. But the phrase there rings true with a lot of our society today, even more so. Okay. I remember the early days of internet, okay, and you had the 36K or 56K modem, you know, where you connect and you hear the chiming, the ringing, the cat shrieking sound, all of that. And then all of a sudden you hear the magic words, "You've got mail," you know, that sort of thing. It was AOL, and I remember getting AOL and signing up for AOL through Best Buy, because if you signed up through Best Buy, because you always got those CDs in the mail, you remember those? And you go to Best Buy, you sign up, you get a $300 gift card to the store, but you're locked in for a year of internet service. And my thought was always, well, I'm going to be using internet. I built my first website for my youth ministry in Milwaukee in '96. Okay, so going back to the Angel Fire website domains. Okay, and it was one of those things where you got the gift card, and then the young single youth pastor, not really having any responsibility other than my house, I bought my first DVD player with it. You know. And so internet's been a part of a lot of people's lives. And now even more so, you know, the talk has been, you know, well, you can't be on the internet all the time. Well, you know what? Now we are. Okay. I mean, we're on the internet all the time, be it for work, email, internet, web stuff, you know, it's all tied into the internet. And it raises a very important question that I don't know that we've talked about lately, is the issue of integrity. Okay. The whole issue of holiness and character and morals and all of these things, because the integrity, it leads to living a life of honor and faithfulness. Okay. You've heard this said before, and many pastors, many people have said it over and over again. It's so easy to live for God when we're at church. All right. It's so easy to live for God when we're surrounded with other Christians, when you're on a missions trip, when you're, you know, out with the men's group or the women's group or whatever the case may be. But when it's just us, okay, how is our integrity? Is it intact? Is it something that we maintain? And even beyond just the internet, okay, our interactions, our business interactions, how we work with people, how we treat people. Okay. The integrity factor is a huge part of who we are. And so in this clip, you can obviously see what really matters to Kip. It's chatting with babes all day on the internet. Okay. And of course, you know, as you see the story, he ends up meeting LaFonda. And it's one of these people that you're just like, okay, never pictured these two getting together, and they get married and they're happy and all of that stuff. But let's define integrity. I think that's the first step, is the definition of integrity. Of course, I had to throw in a pile of tater tots. So the definition of integrity, Psalms chapter 15, 1-2, gives us a clear definition of this. It says, "Lord, who may dwell in your sacred tent? Who may live on your holy mountain? Those whose walk is blameless, who does what is righteous, who speaks the truth from the heart. You see, these verses teach us that a person of integrity who is one who lives a blameless life, practices righteousness, walks in a way that honors God, even when we're not in Christian settings. When we're at church, when we take the kids, the teens to youth convention in October, we got summer camps coming up, all of these things. When we're placed in these areas, it's a euphoric bubble. All right. It really is, because we're all like-minded. Some of us are here because we've had a rough week. Some of us are here because we just like the fellowship. And this trickles down into all of these events we do. And so it's easy to maintain those areas of integrity. When a student goes off to Bible college, all right, when there used to be a program in the Assemblies of God called Master's Commission. And what it was is you would go away for a year or two to a Master's Commission, usually at a large Assembly of God church, Rockford, Illinois, Madison, or other states. Biggest one, the original one, was down in Phoenix, Arizona. Kids would be so fired up. They'd be excited. They'd do all of these things. And it's because they had strict guidelines to stay in the program. Okay, there's no dating in the program. There's no computer usage in the program unless you're working on a project and all of these things. It's a euphoric bubble. So it's really easy to stay in check. But what was happening is Master's Commission was not a fully accredited school for these kids to go into because they get their pastoral degree and all these other things. So they'd go off to Bible college. Okay, now you think Bible college, everything's good, everything's fine, everything's safe. For the most part, it is. It's a great place. It's a good learning institution. There's North Central University, there's Southwest, there's Trinity, there's even the ones outside of the Assembly of God bubble. There's Moody, there's Wheaton, there's all of these ones. And what happens is they find out that all of a sudden not everybody is staying in the euphoric bubble. They actually are adults now out on their own, having to make good choices. And in many cases, bad choices are made because now they're having to spread their wings a little bit and make decisions for themselves. You take a kid who's been under mom and dad's internet filter at home. Now they have an unrestricted phone that they're paying for, and it opens Pandora's box for all sorts of different things. What we do in those situations speaks to our integrity. All right. Think of great sports figures. Okay. We have many that came out of our own state, out of Green Bay, even. We had coaches, we have players that their integrity preceded them. Bart Starr, there's a person that, person of integrity. They helped Rawhide. He was the spokesperson for Rawhide up until he passed away. But then you have the ones, and you have pop stars, most recently in the news over the last couple of days, that their integrity is not intact at all. They're acting differently than how they were in different areas. And so integrity encompasses not only our outward actions, but also the thoughts and intentions of our heart. The lead singer for Chaotic Resemblance, he shared a message for about a half hour when they were here. And he goes, I always carry around a paper Bible. And he spoke to his weaknesses. He spoke to what he no longer wants to deal with. And I admire somebody like this. I see that in people, and I say, good for you. You know your limitations, you know your weaknesses. And he said the reason why he goes, I use a paper Bible because, you know what? I don't want to be on a device where I can look at a Bible and look at porn at the same time. At first, it's a little bit like, oh, he went there. A person up on the stage in a band and all that. But it tells me that here's a guy that's in tune with knowing his limitations and knowing what not to do, where not to put himself. A person of integrity will say, I'm not putting myself in that situation because I know what I'm capable of. I know where I could go with this. I know what I can do. And so a person of integrity, your reputation precedes you. Before we even had Chaotic Resemblance here, I heard from other venues and promoters that said you're getting a very ministry-minded band. You're getting a band that the person's not afraid to share what is truly on their heart. And so integrity promotes that in a person. We have people in this room that are in professions where when I hear somebody say, I am going to see so-and-so, or I'm dealing with so-and-so, I can say, you're dealing with Wapaka's finest. You're dealing with the best person in that field. You're dealing with fantastic people that know what they're dealing with. A lot of us have gone through phases where we didn't have a good reputation. But the beauty of it is we can fix that quickly, all right? And so that's the definition of integrity, personified by David's words in Psalms chapter 15. I love that. Who may dwell in the sacred tent? Who may live on the holy mountain? In other words, who can be in God's presence? And he says, the one who walks is blameless, is righteous, speaks truth from the heart. And there's blessings of integrity. In Proverbs chapter 11, verse 3, it says, the integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity. Duplicity. So what that means is what we've just talked about. Who I am here, does it reflect who I am out there? If you see me at Pick and Save, am I that same person as you see here? I would hope so. Do I have my moments where life kind of gets down and gets rough, and you might see me barking at my kids or honking at somebody, because they're doing the speed limit and I want to test my guardian angel? You're going to see moments like that. Okay. But integrity is, there's blessings to it. It speaks loudly. It speaks into people's lives. Let me share a story with you this week where I felt really good about it. And it was one of those moments where I had to get into Pick and Save and I had to get out right away because I'm dealing with a sick kid at home. And it was one of those moments where in and out, I got to go. So I walk in to Pick and Save and I go down I think it's called the picnic supply aisle. Okay. And it's paper plates, all that stuff. And I walk by a lady and she looks at me and I look at her and I keep walking, probably late 50s, early 60s. And I felt God literally saying, go talk to her. So I stopped and I love those moments. It's like, let's see where this goes. Okay. I'm in this thing called NPLI right now. It's the Nonprofit Leadership Initiative. It's a 1-year program. And this last week, we worked through our DISC assessments. And the thing that rises to the top for me is I am comfortable in a room full of strangers because they're just basically friends I haven't met yet. Okay. I love talking to people. So I walk up to this lady. I said, are you Audrey from Chef Chu's? And she goes, yeah, I am actually. I said, man, I miss your cheesecakes. Because she was a waitress, but if you ever went in there was for a few years, there was advertisement for Audrey's cheesecakes. And she goes, yeah, I don't do that anymore. I haven't been there for years. And I've been taking care of my sick husband and all of that stuff. And so we wrapped up our conversation. I said, well, you're missed over there. And I miss your cheesecake, but it's good seeing you. And as I was getting ready to walk away, she goes, but just really quick, she goes, thank you for recognizing me. Thanks for saying hi. And I'm not making that up. It literally, she just said that. It was like, thanks. It's good to feel appreciated. And I get where she's coming from because some of the words that came out and a lot of us this will resonate with. She went from full on employee enjoying what she's doing to full-time caretaker for someone that's ill. If you've never been a caretaker for someone that's ill, it will suck the life out of you. It's ultimately super rewarding because this is what God has called you to do, but it is hard. It is difficult. Your health goes, you're doing this, because you're stressed and all of this stuff. And so you could just see a breath of fresh air in her saying, thank you for saying something. And what happens is that, in that area, I'm thankful that I had the integrity to do that, to respond to God. There have been moments where I'm like, nope, got to go. I'm just not going to do it. And you kind of feel like a schmuck. Okay. That's Hebrew for lousy. Okay. You kind of feel like I missed my moment. But I can promise you that the blessings of integrity are fantastic. For a lot of us in this room, your character speaks very loudly of you. Who you are has preceded you. Your attitude, your persona, who God has made you to be has preceded you. For a lot of us in this room, we've known each other for years. And the fact is that when you step through the door, I just get excited. I'm like, there's a person that I enjoy seeing. There's a person I love having a part of this church. I'll share a story. I've always talked about how I enjoy when people come up to me and say, have you thought about this ministry? Could I be a part of this ministry? Could I start this ministry? This happened with Bruce and Marie. You didn't know this was coming. But to be honest with you, when Bruce came and Marie came to this church, I started to hear here and there about Bruce and Marie. It's just weird how you deal with one person, all of a sudden you start hearing little things here and there. And so when Bruce said, I got this video curriculum that I'd like to maybe head up a class at the church with, these teachings by Les Feldick, and I heard the name before, and he's solid. I didn't have to pray about it long because their reputation, their integrity preceded them. All right. And so we talked, and it was like, yes, green light, let's go with it. We all have those moments. We all have those moments that it's a blessing to have good integrity. This verse highlights the positive impact integrity has on our lives. It serves as a guide leading us in the path of righteousness, in wisdom, in blessings. And when you live a life of integrity long enough, just like my friend here that was in chaotic resemblance, he can speak openly about it and say, it's not even something I deal with, but I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to. For him, smart devices weren't for him. Okay. And when you're living a life of integrity long enough, that issue that you were once dealing with, it kind of fades away because you've been holding the path for so long. But when we don't deal with it, when I don't deal with something long enough, who I am when it's just me, myself, and I, it comes down to integrity. What are you going to do? Are you going to make the right choices? Are you going to do the right thing? There's always somebody around. In Wapaka, it's even more difficult. If you have a public job, if you're out there, Wayne, I guarantee you where you go, people are always saying, hi, Wayne. It's just, it goes with the territory. Carmen, you might experience this as well. We all have those moments, and where we go and what we do, it almost seems like God might put somebody right in your path to say, hold you in check. There's moments where it's like, I just need to be Bob for a minute. I just need to vent. This is going to be a bad decision, and all this. And then all of a sudden you run across somebody. I shared my beer story with you quite a few months ago. I don't drink beer. I don't touch it. Never grew up around it. My dad broke that cycle in our family lineage. Okay. He didn't have beer around or anything because he came from an abusive father, really. But the one time I bought beer, yes, the pastor's admitting to buying beer, it was to make beer can chicken out of my WWF cookbook. Okay. my in-laws bought me the WWF cookbook. Do you smell what's cooking? For Christmas, the first year I met Tracy. And I went to make beer can chicken. I went to the BP gas station, went in there, looked around. I didn't know what was expensive, was not. So I bought a can of Old Milwaukee, all right, to make beer can chicken. Wouldn't you know? I picked up the can, I turn around, and literally there were 3 conversations. Hey, Pastor Bob. Like, gook, it's like, oh no. It's like, and it's one of those things like there's no explaining out of it. Like, I'm buying this for beer can chicken. Sure, a little rough moment with the kids, huh? That sort of thing. It's like, no, really, I'm making beer can chicken on the grill. And it was one of those moments. It was just a reminder that integrity is really one of those things like at all times you got to hold in check because it's a witness. It's a blessing to have and to keep the integrity in check. But as point number 3 says, it's the witness of integrity that speaks loud as well. And so in Matthew 5:13-16, it says, you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. A reason why a lot of us, all of us, are where we're at today is because you're a light, a light. You're a city on a hill. You're salt, okay? And so people take notice. And that's why your employer trusts you. That's why your family trusts you. That's why church trusts you. That's why God trusts you to do things that he's called us to do, because of the witness of our integrity. A couple weeks ago when I took Emma to see NF, okay, Christian rapper who I found out actually got us started in the Assemblies of God, which is funny. So did Elvis. Just saying. All right. And it was one of these things, like, this was the largest concert Emma's ever been to, a sold out show at the Fiserv Forum where the Milwaukee Bucks play. She's overwhelmed by the crowds, and my kids always joke around, can we go anywhere without somebody saying, hi, Bob? Okay. And so we're at the Fiserv Forum. We walk in the door. We get to the escalator. Somebody comes up to me, you're Pastor Bob. I'm like, yes, I am. And Emma's first words were, what is going on? And so even though it was a night of like stress and lines and all this stuff, it was like, okay, God, I knew I was going in this direction with this message. And it was literally one of those moments, like, integrity matters in every place, everything we do, because there's somebody watching. There's somebody out there watching. And on social media, it's even more difficult. Careful what you put out there. Okay, how many times have we seen conversations where you just vent something out and somebody will say, I thought you were a Christian. Okay. And it's not to say you shouldn't fit to the cookie cutter mold, saying, well, Christians can think like this and talk like this, all that stuff. But it's one of those things, like, when we put ourselves out there, we got to be careful of what, how, and who we're representing. So when we live life with integrity, our lives become a testimony that draws God to others, that draws others to God. Our honesty, our faithfulness, our consistent behaviors, they become a shining light in a world filled with darkness, filled with deceit, filled with ugliness. I mean, just go on any news app, it's filled with ugliness. And so you need to be a rock, you need to be a pillar amongst everything that's shifting around. And our integrity, here's the thing, it can inspire other people. When he mentioned what he did about his Bible, it inspired people. 3 people got saved that night at that concert. How you and I act in public, it can inspire people. It can make people say, you act differently. Yes, I do. I try to. You try to. You do. Because we live differently. We're called to live differently. We're called to live a life of integrity. And it ultimately brings glory to God. So I guess in ending that, as we conclude, I would urge us to remember that it's not merely an external display of what integrity and holiness is. We can all put on a mask. We can all act and step up to the level and say, this is who I am. But it's a reflection of our inner selves. Who are we? How do we act? When you look at the person in the mirror, when life's problems have a way of reintroducing you to yourself, how do we act? How do we conduct our business? How do we conduct our mannerisms? How do we carry ourselves? There's a lot of talk in Scripture that those that follow Christ, even their countenance is different. And so, who are we? How do we act? And I would urge us to be people who walk blamelessly and speak truth from our hearts and live lives of integrity in all that we do. It can be hard at times. I get it. That's what God's called us to do, is to live a life of integrity. Not hang out in chat rooms all day, as Kip does. But it raised a lot of questions when he saw Kip there. He's saying that, and it's like, okay, you could dive deeper. What are you doing in those? What are you revealing in those chat rooms? Same can come to us. When it's just us and the Lord, when it's just us and our daily lives, how are we conducting ourselves? Does it reflect Christ? It's something I have to keep myself in check all the time. And I think it's good for all of us to keep ourselves in check on, to say, is my integrity bringing glory to God? Is it leading people? Is it making people wonder, you're acting different, you tick different, I want that? Because that's the contagious side of Christianity. Amen. Let's have our